Have you ever heard a voice in your house? A voice that sounded exactly like someone you love? Not a similar voice, not something close, the exact voice, because that's what happened to me in the winter of 2018. And what I found in my basement that night is something I still can't explain, even now. 6 years later, I refuse to live alone. And every house I move into, the first thing I check is the basement. I was 27 years old and living alone in a small rental house outside Columbus. It wasn't a creepy place. Actually, it was pretty normal. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a small kitchen, and an unfinished basement that I rarely used. The house was old, but not ancient. The landlord told me it had been built sometime in the 1950s. Nothing unusual, no ghost stories, no strange history, just another cheap rental. For almost 8 months, everything was completely normal. Until January, that's when the noises started. It happened around 11 p.m. I was watching TV in the living room when I heard something downstairs, a metallic clanging sound, like somebody dropping a tool onto concrete. The noise came from the basement. At first, I ignored it. Old houses make weird sounds. Pipes shift. Wood expands. Things happen. But 10 minutes later, I heard it again. Clang. This time louder. I muted the TV. The house became silent, then nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just silence. I grabbed my phone flashlight and opened the basement door. Darkness, complete darkness. I walked halfway down the stairs, shined the light around. Nothing. No one. No signs of anything. So I went back upstairs and forgot about it. Big mistake. 3 nights later, I woke up around 2:30 in the morning. Something had pulled me out of sleep. At first, I didn't know what it was. Then I heard it, my mother calling my name.
Daniel.
I sat up instantly. My heart was pounding. My mom lived almost 2 hours away. There was no reason she would be inside my house. Then I heard it again.
Daniel.
The voice sounded distant, like it was coming from downstairs. I grabbed my phone. No missed calls, no messages. The house was silent. Then one final time,
Daniel.
coming directly from the basement. I froze. Every instinct in my body told me not to move, not to investigate, not to open that door. But curiosity won. It always does. I walked into the hallway. The basement door was closed. The voice had stopped. I stood there, listening, nothing. Then I slowly opened the door. The basement smelled different. A strange, damp smell, almost like wet dirt. I turned on the light. The old bulb flickered. Everything looked normal. Boxes, storage, shelves, laundry machines, nothing unusual. Until I noticed something near the far wall, a cardboard box that wasn't there before. I was sure of it. I hadn't put anything down there in months. Yet now a dusty cardboard box sat against a concrete wall. I approached it carefully. Inside, nothing. Completely empty. No markings, no labels, just an empty box. I remember feeling ridiculous, like I'd scared myself over nothing. So I went back upstairs, but that night I barely slept. A week later, things got worse. The noises became frequent. Scratching sounds, soft footsteps, occasional whispers, always from the basement, always after midnight. Nobody believed me. My friends said it was stress. My landlord blamed old pipes. Even I started doubting myself. So I bought a security camera. One camera, motion activated, pointed directly at the basement stairs. I figured it would prove I was imagining things. The next morning, I checked the footage. At first, nothing, hours of empty video. Then around 3:14, the motion sensor activated. My stomach dropped. Something had triggered it, but there was nobody there. No person, no animal, nothing visible. Yet the camera clearly detected movement. Then the audio began. A voice, quiet, distorted, almost impossible to understand. I increased the volume, played it again, and felt every hair on my body stand up because the voice said, "Daniel, come downstairs," in my mother's voice. I called my mom immediately. I didn't tell her everything. I just asked where she had been the night before. She sounded confused. She had been home all night watching TV. Then she asked why I sounded scared. I almost told her, but I didn't, because saying it out loud would have made it real, and I wasn't ready for that. The following Friday, a snowstorm hit. The roads were nearly empty. The wind howled against the house all night. Around 1 a.m., the power went out. Everything went black. No lights, no heat, nothing. I sat in the living room with a flashlight, waiting for the electricity to return. That's when I heard footsteps, heavy footsteps, directly below me, walking across the basement floor, slow, deliberate, back and forth, back and forth. I grabbed a baseball bat, opened the basement door, and listened. The footsteps stopped immediately. Silence. Then a loud bang echoed from below. I nearly dropped the bat. Someone was down there. They had to be. I switched on my flashlight and rushed downstairs. The beam swept across the room. Nothing, no person, no movement. Then my light landed on the far wall, and I saw it, a dark figure, standing motionless in the corner, watching me. I yelled. The figure didn't move. I stepped closer. Slowly, the closer I got, the more confused I became, because it wasn't a person. It was a coat, an old black coat hanging from a pipe. The shadow had created the illusion. I laughed nervously. My pulse slowly settled. Then I noticed something strange behind the coat. A section of the wall looked different. The concrete wasn't original. It had been patched poorly, almost like someone had sealed something behind it. The next day, I called the landlord. He claimed he knew nothing about it. That wall had existed before he bought the property. Curiosity got the better of me. So that weekend, I chipped away part of the patch. Behind it was a narrow cavity, about 3 feet deep, and inside, I found something, a small cassette recorder covered in dust. The batteries were long dead, but somehow the tape inside still worked. I borrowed equipment from a friend and played it. The recording started with static, then a woman speaking, crying, begging someone to stop. The date on the tape was from the early 1990s. Then another voice appeared, a man's voice, angry, threatening. The recording ended abruptly. No explanation, no names, nothing, just silence. I turned the tape over. There was handwriting on the back, a single address, my address. I spent the next week researching old records. Eventually, I found a newspaper article in 1992. A woman had disappeared from that property. Police suspected foul play, but no evidence was ever found. The case went cold. No arrests, no answers. The woman simply vanished. And suddenly, everything made sense. The voices, the noises, the hidden recorder. Something terrible had happened in that house. I decided to move out immediately. I packed everything within 3 days. My last night there, I slept on the living room couch. I wanted to leave at sunrise, around 4 a.m. I woke up. Someone was whispering very close, right beside me. I opened my eyes. Nobody was there. Then I heard the voice clearly, coming from the basement. My mother's voice, soft, gentle, calling my name.
Daniel.
Then another voice joined it, a woman, crying, then screaming, and suddenly a loud crash came from below. The entire house shook. I grabbed my keys, ran outside, and never went back inside again. The next morning, I returned with police. The basement wall had partially collapsed, exposing an area that investigators hadn't seen before. What they discovered led to the reopening of the 1992 missing person case. Police never released every detail publicly, but they confirmed human remains were found on the property. The case remains officially unsolved. As for me, I don't know what I heard. Maybe it was stress, maybe coincidence, maybe something else. But I know one thing, the voice on that security recording sounded exactly like my mother. And to this day, whenever my phone rings late at night for just a second, I wonder if the voice on the other end is really hers or something still calling me back to that basement. What's the creepiest thing you've ever heard inside your home? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, subscribe for more terrifying true horror stories every week.